Hi everyone, I'm Meredith and thanks so much for checking out my first instructional video on how to make a Valentine's Day game cookie board. I really hope that you have fun trying this, and if you do try it, please make sure to tag me on Facebook or Instagram so I can also see all the cool stuff that you're doing. I am going to be putting out some more videos like this throughout the year with the goal of not needing a lot of fancy equipment in order to make really unique designs. So with that said, if there's feedback or comments you want to share, if you have questions, or if there's just things that you want to see more of, please be sure to share that so that I can make sure that these are still fun and useful. So with that said, have a good time making this cookie. I hope you have fun, and thanks again for checking this out. To get started, you'll want your favorite cookie dough recipe and royal icing recipes on hand. Make sure you have some stiff royal icing so it's not all flood consistency. When you're ready to begin, roll out your dough and start by cutting one square and 6 each of the X's and hearts. My square cutter was about 3.5 inches, and I chose that size based on the size of my smaller X and heart cutters. Use whatever size works for you, but make sure it's big enough to have 3 mini cookies across and up and down. If you don't have any of these cutters, click the link in the description to access the templates that you can cut out and use as guides to hand cut the cookies. Just make sure you pop your rolled dough into the freezer for about 10 minutes before you cut to make cutting that much easier. If any of your mini cookies are sticking inside the cutter, just use a paintbrush to gently push them out. You'll be able to bake the square cookie for a regular amount of time. I think mine was about 10 minutes. The smaller shapes take less time, so I baked them separately and checked them around the 5-minute mark. Once your cookies are baked and completely cooled, we can get started on the decorating. Choose a bowl or plate that's larger than your square cookie for easy dipping. Next, split a small amount of royal icing into 3 different bowls. Add a little drop of red food coloring to the first bowl and mix it thoroughly. You're likely going to need to add some water as well to make this icing pretty fluid. You're going to want it to have movement, so add enough water so that when you drag a spoon through it, the line disappears in about 8 to 10 seconds. This is a thin flood consistency we're looking for. Pink will be the easiest color to make, so just use the spatula or spoon that you use to mix the red. Make sure there's only a residual amount of icing left, and then mix it into your next bowl. Also make sure that you're adding water a few drops at a time to thin it to a similar consistency to the red color. I picked up the same spatula again and added the smallest droplet of black food coloring to the tip of it. I like to do this versus adding it to the bowl in case too much comes out. I have better control and don't ruin the full mix. Mix in the color, adding in some droplets of water to thin it out. Next, start layering your colors, keeping in mind that the colors on top of the bowl are going to be up against your cookie. Because of that, I like to add some of the vibrant colors first, so that when I pull my cookie up, they're going to be visible. When your colors are ready, go ahead and take a dip. I felt my first dip was just so I used my scroll tool to swirl the colors around a little bit, and then I just decided to give it another dip. Once you're happy with the look, shake it out a bit to even out the icing, and then clean up any of the icing that's dripped over the edge, and use that Scribe tool or toothpick to pop any tiny air bubbles. Set your square or your game board aside to dry and then get started on the game pieces. I like to start with lighter colors and work my way to darker, that way I can use what's in the bowl and not have to waste it. I mixed all of the colors in my bowl together to see what it would look like, and I really liked the shade. I just wanted it slightly brighter to pop more on the game board, so I added the rest of the pink I had remaining from the square and used this for my hearts. You're going to want to make sure this icing is a bit more of a traditional flood thickness of about 15 seconds. So meaning that when you pull a spoon through it, the icing is still fluid, but it takes about 15 seconds before it comes back together, and it may also need a little shake to help it move. If your icing has become too thin, mix in some of the unused icing you have to thicken it a bit. And then flood all 6 heart cookies. So we have an icing consistency that we like, and we're going from light to dark. I like to save time a little bit when I can, especially for black icing, so I just add a couple of drops right into my piping bag and pinch the ends to make sure nothing can leak out and massage the color in. Once your color is fully mixed in, flood all your X game pieces and then put everything aside to dry. Once your game board cookie is completely dry, which can take up to 4 hours naturally, so really make sure it's nice and dry, we're going to paint the word love in the bottom right hand corner. You can really put it anywhere and also use whatever color you want, just make sure that it contrasts with that section of your game board. If you are going to paint using white, this is one of my favorite baking discoveries of all time. So painting with food coloring that's white has always been a bit of a challenge for me. It doesn't stick really well to the cookies, and especially if you go over and touch it up, it tends to slide off. So if you mix just a sprinkling of powdered sugar into it, it gives it a really nice grit and it paints much more opaque and then sticks very well to the cookie. With a somewhat light hand, paint love into the corner, then go back over the left-hand side of each letter to bold it up a bit. Next, you'll want to make a few guide marks for where you'll draw the 4 separating lines using your kitchen ruler and the edible marker. Try to equally space out these lines. So my cookie spread a bit to be about 3 3/4 inches, so I spaced my lines to be about 1 1/4 inches apart. Measure the distance and then connect the dots using the ruler as a guide for a straight line. And I decided to stop my line just short of each edge. The last step is to use some of your firm white icing in a piping bag with a really small cut tip to add a row of dots around the edge for added Valentine frills. And that's it. You're ready to gift your unique Valentine cookie game board or eat it yourself. There is no wrong next move. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please tap the like button and feel free to share any feedback in the comments. Stop by again soon for another fun Valentine project. See you next time.